In an earlier section, I showed you how to customize your mouse right-click to open a shortcut menu. I like to have these turned on because they can give you quick access to often used commands or tools right where you're working. You won't have to hunt for them or type on the command line to get them. There are several different shortcut menus that you can use. Each one depends on your current activity or situation. If you don't have anything going on, meaning you haven't selected an object, nor have you started a command, then a right-click will get you the default shortcut menu. I'll show you. I have some basic shapes here: rectangle, circle, triangle, and then a line. I have no command started and nothing selected. Right-click and a hold, because that's the way I have my settings set up. If I did just a right-click, it repeats my last command. So right-click, hold, and I have my default shortcut menu. With it, you can cut, copy, paste, pan, zoom, move, and more. You have a lot of different clipboard functionalities. You can isolate objects, undo, move, etc. Very useful, very common operating tools that you have available to you right there, right by your mouse. So you don't have to hunt for them. You don't have to type them on the command line. You can get to them very quickly and very easily. It's a big time saver. Now, if you have an object that's selected and you want to get to the edit mode shortcut menu, again, just right-click. Now, depending on your functionality, it's going to depend on what you're going to be able to do. So how you want it to behave, if it's not behaving the way I'm showing you, you may want to take a look at it. Go to your user preferences, right-click customizations, and turn your shortcut menus on. Hit apply and close, and OK. Now, what you want to do in the edit mode is not hold. As I was showing you there, I was having trouble with it. When you select something and right-click and hold, it executes a special option that allows you to move, copy, or paste your object, or just cancel. That's a edit mode right-click menu option. Now, the way I have everything set at the moment, I can select it and then right-click. Not a right-click and hold, but a right-click. And now I get my editing shortcut menu. I can repeat my command, recent input, clipboard, again, isolate, or I can erase, move, copy, scale, rotate, drawing order, etc. As you can see, most of these commands are self-explanatory. It's the command itself. I can't really rotate a circle, but I can scale it, or I can copy it. Let's try that one. Now I just tell AutoCAD where I want to put my circles. When I'm finished with the command, I press enter, or right-click, or escape. Now I can rotate this triangle by selecting it, then right-click, and pick the rotate option. Pick my base point of rotation, and now my angle of rotation. I don't have to hunt for a command. I don't have to type in anything. I can just work. That's where right-click shortcuts come in handy. Now, when a command has been started and you right-click, you'll get the command mode options. For example, L for line. We'll start something and then we'll right-click. That works as an enter command, the way my settings are. So I'll start my line command again and hold. Right-click and hold. Now I can go to enter. I can cancel the command. Recent input. These are different coordinates on which I've created lines, or the points to the lines. I can use my snap overrides. We'll talk about snap overrides in another section, but the snap overrides will snap you right into place. They will make sure that you are drawing accurately. They will take you to an endpoint of an object, like the vertex or vertice of one of these rectangular or square-like corners. That will take you to the endpoint of a line, etc. You can go right to the center of a circle, to the quadrant, a tangent point, to a perpendicular aspect of an object, parallel, etc. They get you right to the point. They are called snaps. or I can pan zoom, get my steering wheel or the quick calculator up. Now, the command line shortcut menu will be different all the time, meaning for different commands, it will look different. That was the line command. Let's start the move command. Pick my point and right click and hold. Some of the basics are there, like the panning and zooming, etc. Entering, canceling, recent input, because I'm going from coordinate to coordinate, that's similar, but I have different dynamic input. I can turn on absolute coordinates or go to a WCS coordinate. Absolute coordinate means the exact value. I'm going 5 units away from my current point, or the WCS, which is the World Coordinate Systems, meaning I'm going to an exact coordinate, regardless of how far away it is. And again, I get my snap overrides. So you can see the right-click command shortcut menu will vary for different commands because different commands and tools have different needs and functions. So that will vary slightly. Typically, right-clicking will give you an appropriate shortcut menu for what you're currently doing. So as you work with AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT, and you need to do something with your command or an object, or you're in some situation and you're not sure what to do, right-click. It could be a real time saver. Also, it will help you to learn the abilities of the commands that you're using. So I have a saying, when in doubt, right-click. Everything in AutoCAD can be customized, even the right-click function. It used to be that the right-click was nothing more than an enter command. Well, you still have that option, and it's a great time-saving option. But you can use either the enter or the shortcut version of the right-click. There's even a hybrid version, which we went over earlier in another section, but we'll quickly review it again. To set this, open the Options menu by right-clicking with nothing selected and with no command started. You can right-click or right-click and hold depending on how your settings are. And go to the Options. Go to the User Preferences tab and to the right-click Customization. This is how I typically work. The default setting is with this turned off and the shortcut menus all turned on. And as you can see, we have the default mode, the edit mode, and the command mode. Each one basically repeats the last command, which is the enter key, or a shortcut menu. Now the command mode is slightly different. It's enter, shortcut menu, which is always enabled, or a shortcut menu enabled when a command option is present. So in other words, it will give you the shortcut menu only when there are options. Essentially, it's going to be all the time. There are very few cases where you won't be able to have this criteria. But what I prefer to do is to use the time-sensitive right-click or the hybrid version so that you get the enter key and the shortcut menu functionality in your right-clicking. You don't get that option in edit mode, so I typically keep it as a shortcut menu. When I use the shortcut menu in edit mode, I can still have an option for the enter button, if that's what I want to do. Find the settings that work best for you. This is my recommendation. Do what works best for you. Apply and close and OK. Another form of interface in AutoCAD is the palette. We've seen a couple of palettes so far and we've mentioned them, but we haven't gone into a lot of detail as to what they are. Many managers and tools are in the form of a palette. The command line is a palette. These palettes have tools, commands, or information in them that allow you to manipulate your objects or add to your drawing. One palette that I always use is the Property Manager palette. To open it, press the Control key and the number 1 key at the same time. This will open up your Properties palette. It may or may not show up exactly on your screen like I have because I've used it before and I'm always using it. In my typical workflow, I will have the Properties palette open all the time. I almost never close it unless I happen to need more screen space for some reason. But that's up to you. You can do what you want. It's easy to turn off and on. Just press Control and 1 at the same time. Turn it off or to turn it on. So it's very simple to get to. Very easy to access. This palette will show you the properties of any object or objects that you've selected. It also allows you to change the properties of the selected object. So let's pick something. Anything. If you don't have anything drawn, go ahead and draw something, a line, a circle, anything. Once you pick it, you'll see here in the Properties menu that it tells you what it is. By clicking on this arrow, you will also see what you have selected if you've selected more than one object. I can keep selecting things and add to them. Now, it tells me that I have 7 objects selected and that all of them are listed. If I click the arrow, it better defines what's been selected. 1 line, 5 circles, and 1 polyline. The polyline is this rectangle. Now I can get to the attributes for that 1 line, and it tells me my starting and ending vertices, the deltas, their lengths, their area. Now I can unselect these objects by pressing the escape key, and now nothing is selected. Now the Properties palette tells you your current settings in the drawing. This Properties palette, which we'll go more in depth on later on, has a lot of functionality to it. But all palettes have several things in common. I can dock them or not dock them. I can move them around anywhere I want on my screen. I can close them, open them back up again. I can hide them, and by hovering over them or moving back over, they pop up. And when I start to work somewhere else, they go away, but they're still here. So they don't take up a lot of room, but I can still get to them. I can change their sizes, all that I want. All I need to do is move my mouse over the edge, get the moving arrows, and have at it. I can tell them to stay out all the time. And if I click on the bar and hold it with a left click, I can dock them on the side. Or I can just pull them out again. Now if I auto hide them and then dock them, that's what they'll do. I can right click on and allow the docking or not, or I can just let them go. So you have a lot of display options with your palettes. Another major palette that I want to show you is the Tool palette. Press Ctrl and 3 at the same time to bring it up. This palette, the Tool palette, is full of blocks, hatch patterns, materials, commands, custom script files, etc. It's the main source for your block library, or at least it can be. The Tool palette is tabbed, like the ribbon, to different design genres: architect, mechanical, electrical, civil, etc. This is the out-of-the-box Tool palette. But the Tool palette is extremely easy to customize. Essentially, you're going to right-click and make a new palette and then literally drag and drop things right into it. Commands, objects, etc. We'll talk more about it later. But it's a very useful and a very powerful palette. To use it, just find the object that you want to insert, click it, and then click the point where you want it to go. And you just inserted that object. There you go. There are many objects in here. The mechanical has imperial and metric samples of different shoulder screws, etc., nuts, bolts, things like that. The architectural has different doors and windows, and even plants and some vehicles. There are so many different tabs in the Tool palette that you can't see them all. You can see right here in the bottom that there are a little bit showing. Right-click on it, and here are all the possible tabs that you can pick from. As you can see, some of these even have commands in them, like the line, construction, polyline, etc. So you can put blocks, you can put hatch patterns, you can put commands into the Tool palette. It's easily customized and very powerful. Another useful palette is the Quick Calc palette. That's a calculator. So you can essentially have a calculator with you inside AutoCAD wherever you go. Just press Ctrl and 8 at the same time. And here it is. It works like any other palette. You can move it around, you can auto hide it, you can collapse it, you can stretch it out, and it has different formats. Your regular number pad, scientific calculator, units conversion, etc. You can show some of the detail or hide some of it if it's too big or too small. We'll take a look at this a lot closer. I just wanted to give you an example of some of the palettes that you can use inside AutoCAD to help you do your job. There are some other palettes available, but their complexity goes way beyond the scope of this video, and we are going to look at some of them more closely later on. But suffice it to say, the palette is another format of a window that you can interact with inside AutoCAD. They can be rearranged in your drawing area, they can be docked or locked into position, or they can just float around and you can move them as you need to. They can hide themselves or they can stay open. You can right click, and remember, pick up on the right clicking here. You can right click on things, get more options to them. You can make the palettes as bars or just whichever you need. If I right click here, I can get a lot more different settings. I can hide them even more or make them completely solid. So when in doubt, right click and use a palette. Use a shortcut window, use more functionality in your command, etc.